Yay, we're live.
Hey guys, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. We have a special guest today, Vaishali Nikhade. She's a business psychic helping entrepreneurs and business owners who are unsure in their life and how to have a better outcome in their future. So, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, for those who are watching, I'd love for you to share with us like who you are and what common misconception people have when they hear the words business psychic like merged together.
Right. Cool. So that's a great question. I love it. Most people have a misconception with the word psychic, and I'll get into it. So, my name is Vaishali Nikhade. I am a business psychic and a podcast host of the podcast The Uncanny Link. And long time back in my previous life, I actually used to be an engineer, and I used to design
Wow.
computer chips. And at one point, I sought help from psychics to get some answers, and I wasn't able to get the answers that I was looking for. And I went to over like 30 or 40 psychics, and none of them could get me the guidance that I was looking for. So at one point, I kind of threw my hands up in the air and I said, "Oh my God, you guys are all clowns. I can do a better job than this. I can do a better job than this." So I said, "You know what? I'll figure this out myself." So I decided to figure it out myself. And I actually started to look for where I could learn these things. And I learned it. And I learned it primarily to get information and get answers for myself. And coming from a scientific background, of course, I was very skeptical because the word psychic has a very bad connotation attached to it. You know, people think it's either not real or it's a scam and those kind of things. So I was skeptical, but you know, it doesn't hurt to try. So I said, let me try it. And when I started reading for myself, you know, like 2 3 days in a row, all my readings started to come true. And I was like, oh my God, how can this be? I'm predicting my own future.
Wow.
So I had to change it. So I said, oh my God, this is like, this is too surreal. I need to change my own future. So I did an experiment one day in the gym, and I can talk about it if you want. But
Yeah,
before
please
doing
do.
it,
Yeah.
yeah. So what happened is like 3 days in a row, all those readings started coming true. So I would test it. So what I said is, you know, I'm going to test this like for like an hour or so. And if it doesn't work in an hour, it doesn't make sense to test it anymore. So I decided to test it. And 3 days in a row, before I would go to the gym, I would write down the reading. And then after I would come back, I would see what happened. And every day, 3 days in a row, I saw it play out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm predicting my own future.
Wow.
I said, so today, you know, if I can predict it, then I can change it. So what happened is that day, the next day, it was a Thursday, and I would either do cardio in the sense that I would either run or I would go on the Stairmaster. And then I said, today, if the reading says that I'll go on the Stairmaster, then I'll go run. And if the reading says that I'll run, then I'll go on the Stairmaster. So that I'm right and the reading is wrong. So what it showed is that no matter what I did, I would be correct, and so would the reading. Do you want to guess what it showed?
What did
No?
it show? Did it show that you were in the Stairmaster or?
No, it showed a woman at crossroads, which means that no matter what I did, I would be correct, and the reading would be correct. So that day, you know, I had like a little bit of a switch that flipped in my brain and said, "Oh my God, this is actually real." So then I started exploring it and reading people. And most of the initial readings I did, they were for relationships and career and health and so on. And all of them, or a lot of them, would come back and tell me that it actually played out. And then some of my clients themselves, they started asking me questions related to business. So that's how I transitioned to reading businesses, and I became a business psychic.
Wow, that's awesome. And now for those who are joining, hello and welcome. If you have any questions for Vaishali, I don't know if you want to offer this, like if they have questions about their business, if you're open to giving them an advice on like where they are. I know that a lot of it sometimes is like energy based, but if you can share with us like how that connects with the readings that you do.
How the business connects with the reading I do, or
Yeah. Like is a energy connected to when you do readings for business owners and entrepreneurs? Because a lot of them, they feel like you said, there is like a lot of misconception when it comes to business psychics because they don't either want to believe in it. And so to just have like the people who are listening or watching the replay, like how does that work? If like just for those who want to break it down scientifically or
sure.
anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Okay. So, scientifically, there is actually scientific explanation to it, which is that I'll say it in one sentence and then I'll elaborate. Essentially, the scientific explanation is that time does not have any bounds, or that the past, present, and future are all happening at the same time. And because it's all happening at the same time, we can actually kind of peek in the future and see what is going to happen. Or a better way to think of it is that time is multidimensional,
Mm-hmm.
which means that, like I can sit here and I can see what's happening in the future dimension, and I can see what's happening in the past dimension. So by seeing what's happening in the past dimension, there's people who do past life readings. I actually do them as well. But so you can tell what has happened in the past. And then by peeking in the future dimension, I can tell what's going to happen in the future. And if it's not what I like or up to my taste, then I can change it. And the easiest analogy for that is that of space. Like, think of the GPS, like when I'm sitting here, I can just take my phone and I can see like how the traffic is going to be going from my home to the San Francisco airport. And if you thought about predicting or getting to know the traffic just by sitting in your home, maybe hundreds and hundreds of years ago, like, during the era of the kings and queens, that would be a little bit unheard of or unthought of, because usually they would have some sort of a messenger who would deliver a message, and that's how things would kind of get around. And I think at some point in the future, I don't know if it's in my lifetime or not, but time travel will become a reality, at least in terms of commercialization. Right now, you can see, people like me who actually have studied like the finer aspects, and they can look into things and they can predict things and make predictions. And at some point, it will actually transition into something which is more of a commercial thing, which is accessible to the common person. So that's really like the best explanation I can give. And I'm happy to answer any questions and break down things more if someone is interested or have any questions.
Yeah. Now, piggybacking on what you mentioned before about peeking into the future, I'd love for you to share with us like what results you've had with your clients in doing that.
Sure. So I have like lots of results. I have results for relationship because when I started, I did a lot of relationship readings. So I have relationship results. And then the other results I have is related to businesses. So I can share a little bit of both.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the relationship things, you can predict, like this was my best selling reading. I think it still is, which is like, you can predict like what your future girlfriend or boyfriend is going to look like, and, how you'll meet them and what their profession would be, and the timing and so on and so forth. So that's for the relationships that you can predict. And I'll give you a couple of examples. One of them was a guy. When I first started, I started flexing my muscles by reading on Fiverr. And I would do these readings.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would do these readings for like 10, $20 just to flex my muscles. Um, and one of the guys, I told him that, he would meet his girlfriend in like a very closed environment. I said, there won't be a lot of room to move. It's going to be very, very dark and very dimly lit. And I said that, she'll be carrying some books or something like that. And then he came back to me and he said that he actually met her in an elevator. And it was,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was dimly lit and she was carrying some books. So that's how it played out. And then there was this other lady to whom I told her that, the guy she was going to meet, I said that, she would, there was something associated with alcohol and then the meeting would be cut short, kind of a thing. So she went for dinner at a restaurant and she said it was late at night and I guess she was hungry. And this was pre-COVID days. So she actually went to a restaurant wherever close to her place. And she sat near the bar or something or close to the bar. So this guy was actually working at the bar. So he came over and he was her server. So that's how the alcohol thing played out. And then since the restaurant was like about to close, they had to like hurry up. So their meeting was kind of cut short. So that's how that played
Oh,
out.
wow.
Yeah. And then I'll switch over to the businesses. So I had this guy, this was a few years ago, and he was doing some deal with gemstones, like importing gemstones from Australia. And he was going to invest like $150,000 in that venture. And before that, he had read with me before, and then he wanted to kind of just get confirmation, like sometimes you just need like the third person to bless you, kind of a thing. So that's what he was looking for because he had read with me and he was very happy with the results and everything. So he just ran that by me. He said, I'm just going to send him the 150,000. And I said that you're going to lose your money. And I think he asked like a couple follow-up questions, and I said, no, you're going to lose your money. So then, because he had some previous experience, that things had played out. So think about it. I'm sitting here and I'm looking into the future like that, like a different dimension, and I'm seeing him losing his money. So now that I know that, or he knows that, he has a chance to course correct. So
Wow.
what he did is instead of sending the money to the person, he said, hey, can you just send me a copy of your plane tickets? And believe it or not, the guy wasn't even able to provide the plane tickets.
Oh my gosh.
So the deal was off and he saved 150 grand.
That's amazing. Just like a
Yeah.
simple, just because of just simple maneuver from how he wanted to do something and just like crossing it by you, that like you just saved him $150,000.
Yeah.
And like for someone to in wanting to invest in six figures and for the other person to not even want to pay for plane tickets, that's crazy.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, he couldn't even furnish the plane tickets. That's a little too crazy. So I'll give you a couple more examples. So there was this other lady, and she wanted to invest 20,000 in another venture. I think there was some sort of resort in Mexico or something, and she was ready to kind of pull the trigger, but she had actually she is a current client of mine. She's been reading with me for 3-4 years, I think.
Nice.
Maybe longer, maybe 5 years, something like that. Long time. Time flies. I'm losing count.
Yeah.
But she came to me and she said, I just have this one question, and I'm going to give this guy 20,000. And of course, the other guy is going to give her a very rosy picture of how her investment is going to grow, and so on and so forth. And what happened is I told her that the deal was a fraud. So she did not invest in it. So she didn't really report back to me after that. She hasn't come back to me yet, but she comes maybe a couple times a year. She doesn't come very often. Like that's just how she plays.
Maybe she was like, okay, you're right. I don't want to say anything.
Oh, yeah. No, actually, I had predicted her boyfriend. So this was like
Uh-huh.
3 to 5 years ago. I had predicted her boyfriend, and I had predicted, like he would have really, really nice hair and so on and so forth. And then I also predicted their breakup.
Oh no.
So everything actually had played out for her already. So that's why she had come for the 20 grand. And then there was this third lady, and she actually was going to put a bid on a contract. And the bid she was going to put was for $225,000. So that's like a lot of money.
Mhm.
And she was very nervous because she didn't know whether her bid was going to go through or not. It's like you don't know if it's going to pass or not. And she said, I don't know if it's too high. It is like this vicinity. She said, what if I make it really low, like 200? But I think it could also go to 250. So she was like all over the place. And there's a huge difference between 200,000 and
Mhm.
250,000. So I looked at it. So again, it's the same concept. You just kind of time travel in the future and see where it's going to fall off. So I went and looked at it, and I said, around 260 is where it falls off. So she said that she put it in for 260, and actually she got the contract.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I just this is just like blowing my mind. The fact that like from where you started, like you said, for as an engineer, and now you're like a successful business psychic, and you are making so many changes and like an impact on everyone's lives. And I would like we would love to know, like, what do you enjoy most in working with your clients, and what do you look forward to?
I think the most is when people are looking to choose or make a decision. Like I think I can go down to the level of an entrepreneur now. I kind of gave examples all over the place. But like, let's say for an entrepreneur, okay? And let's say that somebody is trying to do a launch, like they're launching their, what do you say, course or something.
Mhm.
And there are so many ways you can launch a course in terms of getting your leads. You could run the Facebook ads, or you could do like a giveaway, or you could do a challenge, or you could do Google ads, or you could do Facebook lives, or you could go on Pinterest, or you could go on Instagram. And there's like, I can keep talking.
Yeah, there's
you
so
know,
many ways.
you know what I mean, right? So
Yeah.
there are so many ways to do it. And the thing is, there's no one right way and one wrong way. It is what works for you. What works for me, it may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. So I have to know what the right way is.
Mhm.
And it's like coming to like an intersection and having to decide. Think about going like all the way to the end and deciding that, oh my God, this is like the wrong road or the wrong direction. And then you have to come back. And essentially, in terms of time, you cannot really come back. You just ended up wasting all that time, all that money, all those resources. So, by using the psychic readings, for lack of a better word, you can actually decide, which option is going to work best for you. Like maybe challenges work but they may not work for you, or maybe Facebook lives work but they may not work for your particular launch. So you can find out in advance, and then once you know that, you can kind of decide or finalize your strategy. Just because Tom and Harry and John are all just doing the challenge doesn't mean that you should go and do a launch that involves a challenge. So that's really like the best way is to use it when you are planning something, because that's really a very strategic part. Because based on which strategy you choose, you can make or break the launch.
Mhm.
So that's really like the best time and the place to use it, of course. And then once you've had the launch, then you can see, where are the places you can refine it or something. Or if your launch is not going well, then you can see, oh, what can I do? But then you're a little bit bound by time because you only have so much time. But this is how entrepreneurs can leverage the readings for their own benefits.
Wow. And I have a question, and following up with just like peeking into the future. This year has been a crazy ride for everyone.
Mhm.
And I'm curious, like, did you see this coming?
Did
Where
I
like,
see it coming?
yeah, where like people had to work remotely more. I'm like that. I'm just like really curious.
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of examples. Personally, I didn't see it coming because I didn't really look at it. So you definitely have to look at it, okay? But personally, I didn't look at it, so I didn't really see it coming. But when it came, I got an idea of how intense it was. So I could tell, I'll give an example of a conversation I had with someone in March. And what they said is that, by June, all this will be over. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't understand. This is not over by June.
Wow.
But there's a couple of clients who had come to me, in particular, one of them. And there is a technique I use. It's called, I have a podcast episode. It's called Combining Collective Evidence. I think that's what it's called, Combining Collective Evidence, which means that, people most of the time, they want to know yes or no answer. Should I do this or that, this or that, this or that? But the thing is, life is not as simple. It's not really yes or no. You have to have evidence from multiple sources to actually come to that conclusion. So what I did was, there was this lady who came to me with her daughter, and she was worried about her job. And she said, I'm really worried. I don't know if I should be looking for new work or what I should be doing, kind of a thing. And one of the questions I had asked is, I said, I asked a couple of questions related to her work and her manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next question I ask is, will you be traveling to work? And that's like a weird question to ask, but it showed no. So I said, man, this is showing that you're not going to be commuting to that workplace. So, you can draw your own conclusions, but at that point in time, you would probably draw a conclusion that you're not going to work there, right? That's the conclusion I would have drawn. But I don't know what happened. I haven't really heard back from her. So that was one example of how this prediction played out in a reading. And then the other example was that of there was another lady, and she was commuting all the way to San Jose. And I looked like she wanted to know. This was a little bit earlier than February. And she wanted to know if, like, within a year or so, she would still be commuting. And that one also showed no, no. So I had little bit of indirect evidence of how things were going, but I couldn't have related it to this because I really didn't see it, and I didn't see it coming either.
Wow. And then excuse my dog in the background if anyone hears any of that. But like for you, I'm just blown away from all everything that you've been saying. Now, when you went into this new field, did anything surprise you?
Oh my God, a lot of things surprised me. This is nowhere close to the work I was doing. I think the biggest obstacle people had when I first got started. So when I first got started, I would put ads on Craigslist. And then I had like this website, which was like one page, just one page. And on that page, I would just have like my picture and what I would do, kind of a thing, and maybe a payment button or something. That was about my website. And people would say, so how do you know that I'm real? How do we know that you are real? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do like a 5-minute free reading. And you can only do so many of those because, it's draining, you get exhausted. So then what I did was I said, I'll just do like a general group reading every week. And then from that group reading, you can kind of figure out, if it plays out or how it plays out, and kind of decide from there. That way I won't have to do so many free readings. So that was like one thing. And I corrected that, and then that actually worked. And what else surprised me? I think that would be like one thing. Another thing that I don't know if it was a surprise, but some of the clients can be a little bit demanding,
Mm.
and they kind of want answers like right now. Like, you know, uh, how do I say it? Yeah, it's almost like, they just expect you to be at their beck and call, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And the way I took care, I actually had a very intelligent strategy to take care of that. So
But
what
that's good. Yeah.
what I did was I said, listen, if you guys want like a same day deal, then I priced it for a different price. And then if they could wait and do it in 24 hours, it was like a different price. Kind of like how airlines do it. If you
Mhm.
buy it like a day before, it's so much, and if you buy it a month before, it's so much.
Yeah. No,
And
that's smart. Yeah.
and that actually took care of all those star kickers and the emergency people. I mean, some of them actually have genuine things and they do come and they do pay, but it definitely did take care of the star kickers.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So, how can, like, for those who want to learn more, and how do they get in touch with you?
So, the best way is to get on my website. It's called The Uncanny Link. It's the same name as my podcast. So, theuncannylink.com. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com, The Uncanny Link, and also on Instagram, instagram.com, The Uncanny Link. And on LinkedIn, I'm just by my name. I don't have like a business page yet on LinkedIn. I don't know if I'll ever have it.
That's all right. Now, is there anything you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah. You mean like a special offer or something?
If there is one, yes.
Okay, I'll share a special offer and I'll share a little bit of details about my podcast. So, the podcast is called The Uncanny Link, where physics meets metaphysics. And I talk about our physical senses as well as our spiritual senses and how our spiritual senses can give us information in advance. Kind of remember, I showed you that you can peek into the future dimension and get information, and that information is actually got to us by our spiritual senses. And I talk about that in my podcast. I've made it very simple. So you don't have to have any knowledge of anything except maybe just understand English. And yeah, so just very simple. I've kept it simple. There are no like huge barriers. You don't need to be at a certain level or anything. You don't need to know anything about what a psychic is, what intuition is. I explain everything. So I would love it if you subscribe and listen and leave a comment or a review or both. And the special offer I have is if any of you guys are listening live or recorded, if you would like to get maybe get an hour's worth of reading today, then I'm happy to give you a 15-minute free follow-up session. That's my special offer.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to drop the link here for everyone where they can schedule the call with Vaishali. And you heard it from Vaishali. If you'd love to learn more, then definitely go to theuncannylink.com. You can friend her on Facebook, The Uncanny Link, as well as her Instagram handle. Follow her there. It's also at The Uncanny Link. And if you have any questions, you can also drop in the chat below. But thank you so much for coming on here and sharing all of this wisdom with us today.
Thank you. It was so nice to be here. I really enjoyed talking to you and answering your questions. There's always a different
Amazing.
dimension that comes out in every interview.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.